So from the sidebars that we had there, all right, I can tell that there's quite a bit of experience with martial arts and kata in general. Um, I don't know, do we have anybody in here that's not familiar with any of this? I don't want to beat a dead horse.
What does familiar mean?
um, having done one.
Okay, yeah, no, I'm not. I mean, I've done the meditation, the reflection of the heart meditation. Um, but that's the most kata I've ever really done. I have not been in a martial arts setting where I've done kata.
Okay, so bluntly, a kata is a series of movements, and you repeat them so that you're learning structure and how to do that move correctly. So you're building the muscle memory. Same reason that people who play basketball shoot free throws over, right? So that you learn that without thinking, you can do it. And it is canon as well. We do know from several books, several sources that Jedi spent hours as younglings and Padawans learning the forms, doing them over and over and over and over again. Um, so you're not thinking about it. Um, I'm a fencer, so when you're actually fencing, you're not don't have time to think, oh, I'm going to do such and such technique. You just have to do it. Um, so that's what a kata basically is. And it can be anything. The way I framed it, it could be anything from doing laundry. If you've done laundry and you fold your shirts a certain way, you've done it so many times, you can sit there and watch TV, not look at the shirt, and just keep folding them, right? Any task that you've done repetitively, you've moved from active memory to passive memory. It's that everybody understand where I'm going to come from there.
Yes.
Okay,
Right.
go ahead. Oh, I
Yep.
thought there was a question there. Um,
Oh,
Nope,
yes,
you're
I
good.
understand. Sorry.
Okay, yeah, it's a flow state if you've heard that term as well. So it's the same idea. And if you're not into martial arts and you're not a fencer, you just like the flow. You like to have the saber in hand, and you find it meditative. There we go. It still applies. You know, you're moving. You're going to get to the point where you can clear your mind and just go through the movements. So that covers that. Go into structure and body mechanics. We're going to start, and I got the old katana, the wooden katana out here for a reason. I'll switch over to the saber here in a little bit, but I noticed that a lot of people that have never used an actual bladed weapon struggle with some of the concepts that come along with a bladed weapon because saber cuts in any direction, right? It's a glowing blade of plasma, so I have taped what would be the cutting edge to make it a little easier to see on video, keep track of. So, structure and body mechanics. Structure is these are a force multiplier, right? It's a lever. It's designed to make work easier, right? But if you're not using it correctly, you're going to make work harder. So, it's not a baseball bat, right? Structure starts with the We're going to start with the grip. It may be a little bit backwards. I know that people say start with your legs, but we're going to start with grip because that's where I see the biggest disconnect amongst saber versus sword. It's not a baseball bat, right? You're not swinging from the fences, right? You don't generate power that way. Um, you space your hands out, right? And we're going to use, hopefully you guys can see my hands here. This is what in HEMA and European swordsmanship is referred to as a handshake grip. Reach out, shake somebody's hand. All right, it's a more relaxed grip. You get a little better maneuverability with it. I know I'm using a Japanese sword and European hand grip, but Masashi talks about a similar grip as well. We're not clenching down on it, right? You do have what's called a hammer grip, which is how you grip a hammer. That's a subject for a different time. The different grips have different uses and different reasons that you would use them. But for now, handshake is the most common grip that you would use in swordsmanship because it gives you that maneuverability. It gives you a little bit more reach, right? So your arms can only move in two directions. It's either a push or a pull or a combination of those actions. So that's the body mechanics part of it, right? The swordsmanship has a million things going on at once, and it's very easy to overload. So I'm trying to compress a lot of information, and I don't want to leave anything out that's pertinent, but at the same token, it's like a big meal. You can only digest so much. All right. Structure. So if I had another person here, if your hands are too close together and you go to parry an incoming strike, leverage is working against you. These are levers. They're going to knock your blade out of the way. Now, if your hands are spaced further apart, you're using more of the lever. You can parry the strike a lot easier. Not to mention, if you notice, I'm using my dominant hand up here by the hand guard to aim, and my non-dominant hand is the motor. It cranks it around. Part of the reason for the tank top is you can see which muscles are being engaging, right? Makes it a little easier to kind of tell what's going on. All right, so I think that grip is pretty well covered. That's the one part of structure. The other part of structure is the rest of your body. I'll get a little closer here. I know that there are several of us that have yoga backgrounds. So the warrior's pose is based off of a warrior's pose. So that's pretty much that is a good, you're not going to stretch quite as far, but it is a good position to, a good neutral position. All right, can you still hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, step back a little more. Okay. So to find your stance, right? Feet together, then move them just a little bit past shoulder width. This is about how wide you want your stance. Then you're going to drop back into that where we talked about that yoga warrior stance. Take your dominant leg and drop it to the rear. And you should be to the point where it's doesn't hurt, but it's slightly uncomfortable. You're new to this, it's going to be your body's going to have to learn to be comfortable with that. You want just almost not quite a 90 in the front knee and just a little bit of a bend in the back knee. And the rear foot you want pointed off in a 45-degree angle. So this is 90. That's your other 90. You want it about right here. Hopefully you guys can still see the katana there. Hips bent, torso from the hips up, straight. And you want to keep your body weight centered between your two legs, leg thrusts, so that you can move forward and backwards with relatively ease and change direction. If you're too far forward, you gotta shift your weight further to come back, and vice versa. Good side angle here. See, spin at the hips. There's my not quite 90. Which side's here? There's the left foot bend and the other leg. If you, when fencing, you want to try to keep your opponent between your hips, right? Between that gate. Now he's going to try to move out, right? But that's the idea. And the reason being is same deal, balance, right? You're off balance. It's a lot easier. Again, it's a lever. To push you with your lever if you don't have structure. A well-structured saber swordsman can block and wall off a spot no matter what size difference there is between you and your opponent. And honestly, bigger guys are easier to fight in my experience than smaller guys, because smaller guys learn that lesson quickly because they have to. If you have a good structure behind it, you're working your entire body, right, through that weapon. All right, any questions about any of that before we move on? Okay. Now we're going to move on to edge alignment. We talked about this a little bit at the beginning. This is a katana is a singled edge, right? Only cut from one direction. So if that edge isn't lined up, it's not going to cut. Saber can cut in any direction. However, your arm can only move in two directions, right? So it's still pertinent to a saber because, well, you only move it in two directions. You can, even if I want to change directions halfway through a cut, right? It's still two directions. Just the way the human body works. So a long sword is more about the closest analog to a lightsaber, but single edge weapon is a little easier to understand, especially if you're talking to somebody that has no clue about edge alignment. You know, it's one edge, it's easier to keep track of. So this is why another reason to do a kata, right? Is it keeps your mind focused on that edge. I'm talking to you guys, and the whole time, from every strike, I stop with that edge aligned to make my next cut. Once you understand single edged weapons, you can move into a double edged weapon. So this would be the edge of the katana. This is a flat. Opposite side is also a flat. And this is your spine. I know that's not the proper Japanese terms, but you get the idea. Now, on a long sword, for instance, you have two edges. So this would be a second edge instead of a spine, and you'd have two flats. Now, the flats aren't going to cut. They will slap. That's about it. So the biggest difference is I could take this from here, right? Cut, cut. And see, there's the edge. Had that been a double-edged sword, that would have been a second cut. Cut, cut, cut. Again, once you understand a single edge, you can move on to a double-edged weapon. You shouldn't treat your saber as it is a long sword or a katana. Saber is best used as mixing it and matching it because it will work as all of them. It will work as a rapier. It will work as a cutlass. So figure out what works and what doesn't work, or what suits your style if you're just more into the flow of kata. That covers. I'm about to move on. So for our kata, though, we're going to keep things simple, and it's just going to be cut, 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 just like a paintbrush. If you're following along, right? We'll move. Hopefully, I can get this without in frame without smacking the car. All right, and as I come across, I'll roll it back around. All right, any questions about edge alignment? All right. Uh, anybody have anything to add? That was a critique last class I gave, was not being interactive enough. So I try to do better every time. No, okay. So footwork, we're going to use. You have several different types of footwork. Hopefully you can kind of see my feet and still hear me. All right, so you have, what we'll be using is called a passing step. So you're gonna come back into that neutral stance, and you're going to use that foot. It's gonna come past the front foot. And you're just going to shift. Again, trying to keep that rear foot at that 45-degree angle. Right? Now, Olympic fencing, they'll still keep that way, but they move a gathering step. They don't change their dominant foot, or their dominant foot stays towards the rear until they get ready to thrust. Right? So gathering step, right? That's kind of just shuffle. And it's hard. I haven't quite narrowed down. Japanese swordsmanship uses a similar gathering step, and then they use some explosive when they strike, which does apply to all swordsmanship. A Yohi Meyer refers to it as a bounding step. So if I'm here, so real big, long, exaggerated step. And again, that's not really. I haven't found a good video that teaches good kendo footwork that I can digest. It's a little easier too. There's loads and loads and loads of the European stuff in books because it's so old. Modern kendo post World War II is still real new, and a lot of it that I can find is still in Japanese. I don't read Japanese, so. But we'll be doing a passing steps for our. So without the saber, it's just. And we're just going to do a there and back. So when you get to the end of your hallway or wherever you're training, right, 2 or 3 steps, you're going to take the front leg, you're going to push off, and you're going to come around and past the rear leg, and basically switching places. It's similar to about face. If any of you are, I know maybe 1 or 2 of you have been in the military, or done some drill and ceremony. So you're going to push off and turn. I'm going to do that a little further out so you can see. Hopefully you can still see here. And I'm going to push off and turn. And that's the footwork that we'll be using. So it's just 2 or 3 steps. Get to the end, or no further than 2 or 3 steps. Push off and turn. Now, there is a book. Riddick, Lude, and I want to say Howell. It's 3 different German schools of longsword. And basically, what they say is when you hew, you must hew correctly. Hew is an old word, old English word that means to cut, right? Cut. Or you'll find no joy in it. They go on to explain that every step you're advancing should be a movement with the sword, right? At least one. So you're going to, if I'm going to cut from my right side, right to left, I'm going to step off of my right leg. And again, that ties into body mechanics. You watch, I'm going to try to do this one a little slower after this podcast. It's not just my arms, shoulders, it's my entire body that comes around. You use your entire body follows behind the tip of that sword. And my foot doesn't start moving until the sword saber does. So once you've learned that, you can learn more technical, more complicated things. So your footwork is more important than your blade work because it is more committed. Your legs move slower than your arms. So you can actually perform multiple cuts in a single step. This is called the iron butterfly. It's a longsword technique. So if you notice, it was a thrust, false edge cut, front edge cut. That was something I left out. False edge and main edge, or long edge, short edge. Basically just refers to both edges on a longsword. Whatever one's facing you is your short edge or your false edge. The one facing away from you is your long edge or your true edge. Flip it around. There's mechanically, there's nothing different. It's just, physically, I should say, there's no difference. It's just whichever edge happens to be facing you. So, all right, now let's put the footwork and the edge alignment and blade work together here. So we're going to start out, dominant foot to the rear. You're going to take your, I'm going to switch to the saber. Take your saber in that nice handshake grip, and you're going to start in your neutral. All right, you're going to start here, and you're going to go right to left, and then you're going to switch because you have that foot to the rear and come back across. So, start in your neutral, cut, 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 and now we're going to do our turn. We're going to push off of the lead foot, cut, 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 and I messed that up. So it should be cut, cut. Let's see how to roll that rear. I've been doing it so long, that's where it talks about the muscle memory. I automatically just do, instead of another lead edge cut, automatically, if I'm here, just bring it back for the false edge because it's quicker. So what it looks like where I messed up should be cut, which was fine. But instead of rolling it and coming back around like this, I did cut and pulled it back through. So, which is valid, but it's not what I was trying to teach. So we'll stick with the wooden sword so I can keep it straight, maybe. So back to your neutral. Cut. 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 Or you push off. Cut. 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 That's it. That is a boiled down, very short version of a kata. Now, those of you who've done it know that there's more to it, but this was meant to be a introductory to a lot of the concepts and something that somebody could potentially do in their hallway. I have this nice big concrete pad in front of my garage here that I'm able to use. So I actually move in 4 directions when I do one. You guys get the idea. I'll more branch out like at each point into different movements. Again, the whole point is to get used to those movements to where you're not. Eventually, you'll get to where you're not thinking about them. But when you're trying a new move, it breaks it down, makes it easier, especially the more complicated moves like the iron butterfly. Um, it helps. Break it down to those digestible pieces. How are we doing on time? Maybe. Oh, yeah, we got plenty of time. I was worried about that. All right. Questions? Does anybody want
You
me to go ahead?
you called it a passing step. I call it a two-phase step because it's not like a normal step. You
Right.
you know you almost kick your other foot, but I mean not. I mean you can starting out. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So it makes it look like it's one step, but it realistically, like a lot of movements in martial arts, it's two. It's two, but it's really one, right? So you're coming here and then out. But you don't want it, it's executed as one movement. So it's we're on the same page there. I hope that explains it a little bit better there, a little clearer.
Oh yeah, it does.
Thank you so
Different terms,
much. I'm sorry, but I have to
but
go.
it's the
Thank you, everyone.
same concept. I love it.
Yeah, it's so I've studied a lot of what I can find of the Japanese stuff and actually understand. I don't have semi-rural Kentucky, so it's an hour to the closest dojo that teaches, and then it's a lot of expense and a lot of commitment that I just don't have time for in my life. I have 3 kids, so I'm trying my best between books and YouTube to learn, and a lot of the stuff is more the HEMA stuff, the European martial arts. HEMA's historical European martial arts. Now that covers everything from Bronze Age swords all the way up to Italian rapier.
Where are you located in Michigan?
Kentucky.
Oh, Kentucky. I'm sorry.
Yeah. So, Radcliffe, Kentucky, Fort Knox. Literally, I can see Fort Knox from my house.
Well, that's golden.
Yeah. So trying to learn what I can from books and whatever, and reading things as well as I go along, because things that there's a lot of things go on in swordsmanship that you just can't digest it all at once. I am the local TSL charter rep, well, the state charter rep now.
Are you? I'm in TSL as well.
Nice. So when I try to teach new fencers, as the basics, keep your threat out right now.
Yeah,
There
yeah,
are
you got the
reasons,
basics down. I loved your thing. It was almost the same thing I do, you know. Got to
yeah,
start with a grip.
right. So then they'll go, well, you don't do that, because they'll see me do things. Switch back to the saber here. They'll see me do things like this, right? This low guard that I am not a threat here at all, but I'm also far enough away when I.
Yeah, come on.
This is not. This is much as a provocation as a thrust to the face, right? This is okay. Come on, right?
Yep.
Or I'll do things like unicorn, right? That leaves a lot of open targets. Or fool's guard, right? So I am more familiar with longsword because it is what I found to be. I'm a practical guy. I like to win. It's what I found to be translates the most. But I do notice that you can really screw with your opponent if you switch from throwing these katana style strikes to then going to a longsword strike. Switching styles really screws with their head. What's up?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of katana. I started with the katana, but yeah, I don't know too much about the longsword stuff.
So if you're using a lightsaber and you're not using the longsword stuff, you are missing out. It is night and day difference, because
Well, I like.
katana strike, right? I have to roll and bring that blade around.
Well, my
Right.
thing is really trying to utilize the omnidirectional part of it.
So again, body mechanics, right? I cut this
Yeah,
way
but
and then
yeah,
back up this way, or I cut this way and back this way, right?
Oh, I love that one. Yep.
Right. So your arms push and pull. So any movement has to involve those. So here's a little bit more of a close up, right, of that. And I'll just do just the blade work of the iron butterfly. So you'd be down here in this low guard, come up in for a thrust. At that point, this would be your false edge, right? Come around, finish with a true edge strike, back to the other side. You're close. It's what they refer to as the closed side, because your arms are crossed. Come up, around, then you be to open side. Now you're closed and open. Hang on. We'll get there. There we go. Closed and open. Depends on if you're left or right-handed. All right. Your dominant hand goes up by the handguard. Yeah, we still have quite a few minutes if somebody has any more or something they want me to elaborate on. It's my favorite subject, so.
Yeah, if anybody has any questions for Archer, like you want him to show you something, like ask him.
Something to elaborate on, or have I thought of X? I mean, some of the more experienced guys, I want to learn as much as I want to teach. So if somebody has more experience with martial arts, hey, have you thought of, or I noticed that you're leaning a bit too far forward when you step, or something of that nature. What? No, you're not in the garage. Go back in the house, please.
Everybody who's on the seminar conference here should interact with the instructor. Let them know what you want to see, because this is your golden opportunity to do that. So don't all be on mute and let him stand there. He could have pre-recorded this and just sent it in if you want to do that, but he's interacting with us. So give him some feedback, guys. Let him hear it. If you want him to show you something, or if you have questions, ask him.
If there's no swordsmanship related questions, what general questions about, or general things about, hey, get a better camera angle or find a better space. I mean, there's other things that can make the class easier to follow. They don't necessarily have to be. I cannot. It's like a mental block for some reason. I cannot do it.
That one's hard. It is.
Part of the problem is I'm so used to this saber, and the handguard makes it a pain in the butt. Everybody I've talked to says that, and I've yet to find one.
You can do it. What you want to do is, when you have a handguard like that, don't plant your hand so close to the guard itself. So take your right hand and grip the handle. Okay, right. Now you see how you have it below the tsuba and the guard below it. So you're in the perfect place right there. Okay, that'll allow you to turn your wrist without having the guard catch your hand. See? Whenever you're using a katana, you should always have it at that position. Nice, good.
Yeah, now, it's awkward when I do it.
All right. Now, if you want to do the obiani, okay, so now if you want to do the obiani, what you want to do is do what you were doing there. Take your saber. I guess I could get up and show you with my saber, but you could do it. My dog is being a pest. You bring the saber like across your belly, and then behind you, spin up and around, and up in front and reverse. So right. Okay, so now what you want to do is, when it goes behind you, pull. When it goes behind you, pull the hilt around across the front of your belly.
There you go. Kind of.
But now bring the butt of it across. So I'll show you. Wait. I'm in my living room, and I normally would be downstairs in my dojo.
But hit the ceiling.
Yeah, no, it's not that.
It when you went to change hands.
Yeah, I do all the time.
I got the big screen TV over here. Okay,
so just dragged it butt across your belly when you went to change hands when you stopped.
Yeah, so actually I don't want to hit the TV set, so I'm going to turn the computer more. Hold on. Whoa. I got my fancy schmancy camera and everything. Okay. So, dog, stop. All right, so when you go to do the obiani, you're coming forward, doing this. Stop it. You bring the blade behind you here. Now you see that. Oh, you know what? You can't see with all this on. Hold on.
Yeah, you're not spotlighted, but I see you.
Oh, I could do that too, but I'm not. This is his moment. I don't want to steal that.
No, I know. I just had to take a second. I couldn't see you.
So when you're here like this, can you see me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
I see you.
Okay. So here's your forward roll. Then it comes behind you. And now at this point, I bring the butt across my belly, up and around, over, and then start again. So it's here, behind. See the blades behind me over here? I come around, up and over, and around.
Dog's gonna bite you.
So now when you spin that blade behind you, stop it.
He actually did it a little bit ago before he tried refocusing.
Bring this part around and then up and over. See? There you go. Now you get that extra half turn so that the butt comes out over here. There you go.
That was it.
There you go.
That's
That's
Now I
it.
it.
just got to work on getting it faster.
No, you always start
Start
out
slow.
slow.
But now you got
Always
the
start slow.
spin. Now you got the spin. You see, you got it. You got it. I feel good about that. There you go. See, takes a community. Jedi community shares with each
Well,
other.
that's what's nice about having a actual instructor is, okay, I see where your disconnect is versus a video. You're like watching it and you're like, I'm missing something. What am I missing?
Yeah. 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 Well, there you go. There you go.
Thank
Listen,
you.
I've learned a lot of good things. Oh, no problem. More than welcome.
That was the iron butterfly. Took me about 4 or 5 hours to learn from the video because I had to keep rewinding it because I'd end up and I'd be watching him in a mirror and I'd be going, my arms are not in the right spot. What am I missing? And I have to rewind it and rewind it and rewind it.
So let's see the iron butterfly. Oh, nice. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Space permitting, you would then go to the
That's my
lower half,
favorite.
which would be, and I've not practiced that one as well because I don't have
Oh,
space.
I don't
So
know the lower half one. Yeah, we call
lower
it a
half
side strike.
is same thing, but instead of coming up for a high, right, we're going to attack a low target. Boom, 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 boom. And
Nice.
longsword is all about flow. So I could come to the unicorn, right? She's already halfway through that iron butterfly, down into the iron butterfly on this side, back over to this on this side.
Nice. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Okay.
Nice. There's got to be somebody on this conference that has a question for our friend here teaching us this wonderful sword work.
Maybe.
Come on. Don't be shy, people. Don't maybe come out there. You don't want that. Come on, Dan. It's got to be something.
I know Kinshi was talking about how the longsword was easier, and I've tried to teach people that have just picked up sabers, never held a bladed weapon, and they don't understand the concept of two, right? It cuts both ways. You don't have to bring it back. You don't have to roll it around. You can just bring it back.
Right, right. Well, that's because a lightsaber is basically a hot knife flying through butter, and no matter which way you waft it, it's gonna cut something off.
Right. Well, and they're used to,
and even though it's omnidirectional,
where they do treat it somewhat like a katana. You know, they don't cross their hands. They're always the uncrossed cuts, right? They can roll it around, cut.
Right, right.
In reality, you would use it like a longsword. You just come in, cut, 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 cut.
and even though it's omnidirectional, now you'd still turn your hand over to back cut, correct?
Yes, because that's the way
you're
your
cutting one way. Because if you tried to go backwards on a cut, even though it's got a either a double-edged blade or omnidirectional, you still have to turn your hand over so that your driving hand there, your aiming hand, is in position in case you encounter resistance.
So you're
Otherwise,
saying
the sword can get knocked right out of the ends of your hands.
if it's here.
So if you tried to drive that backwards, like backhanding it.
Right. You can absolutely, swords are designed to cut, right? So if I'm
just flick it up.
Backhanded cut, right? So iron butterfly. So I'm starting here, right? I'm uncrossed in the uncrossed position here, right? I'm coming around. This would be my false edge. Thrust, right? But because I'm not just using my arms, it's my entire body pulling the blade through, right?
Indeed. But what I'm talking about is if you do a strike, just do a straight strike through.
You're saying here.
Now from there, and without moving your hands, if you were going to flick it backwards, you could do that in some cases, but not if you're going to drive to a strike or block. So if somebody was now,
So you can't use that for a block. Okay, I think I see what you're
right,
saying.
and when you coming back off of that, he would have to definitely has to turn his hand over so that he is driving essentially the edge of the blade if it was like this type of blade that he's using now.
So you're saying
So now if you were to use the back of your blade, you could turn it back over. So if you were just trying to use the back of the blade there, even the block, you have to turn your hand over for you to have any strength, because if you hit any resistance that way, it's going to drive it out of your hand.
I never thought about it like that. That's a good point.
props.
You can use it as a flick where you know there's going to be no resistance.
Yeah, if you can get an arm or something.
Right.
But
So
you
what
can't
you're
use it
saying
as a block.
if I come through, I
Right.
get
Now,
a parry.
Oh, that's
Now,
great.
if you went past his weapon now, if you were to go backwards without turning your hand over, right. Now, if you encounter any kind of significant force, you can still end up having that dropped out of your fingertips without turning your hand over. So if you're coming straight up and you were to catch his sword again,
So come through here.
you came through.
I whiffed it, right? You're saying
Now,
I'm
if you came up backwards with the back of your blade,
Straight to his saber.
you definitely have to be careful when using that, because you definitely have to have a good grip on it. It could knock it out from between your thumb and fingertips.
right. That's
Right
where.
there.
See if you. That makes it a little easier. So I have it here. I also have a little easier to see with the saber. Well, I have them both out. Okay. So I have it here, and then on the rear hand, your power hand, right?
Yeah.
I have the meat of my thumb, this portion.
There you go.
Pushing it in. These fingers are slack, so I can get the flexibility. These fingers are pushing it into the meat of my thumb. My thumb is loose as well, right? Can you get that mobility? I'm using the meat of my thumb, the heel of my palm, to get that extra grip.
Then your hand takes the impact.
Yeah, that hand's going to have the strength.
Safi talks about that grip as
Hold
well
on.
in his book.
Yeah.
But the closest thing to it, to European counterpart, is the handshake, and the handshake does give you. You're using that the middle finger a little bit more on a handshake grip than you do in Masashi's, because his is almost not touching at all.
In
Is
any
it kind of
grip,
isn't
that's
it
your
kind of like
weakest point.
drumming though, with that handshake grip, that once you almost contact your target, you squeeze hard, right? Or no?
So you never want to be tense nor slack, right? That's what Masashi
Even when you're
So if you're expecting to have, if I'm going to do a beat parry, right? That's where I push his blade out of the way, right? I'm going to switch to that hammer grip, right? Because I can push more power through it, right? Or if I'm expecting a heavy blow to come down, I'm going to switch to that hammer grip.
I see. You are okay.
Between the two grips, right?
Yeah.
You're not loosening your grip. You're changing which muscles you're using, right? That's hammer. That's handshake.
Yeah, and doing that, you turned your hand over
muscles.
so that your thumb is supporting the blade.
Right.
Because that weakest point is right there between your fingertips and your thumb. That if you did a back blow of some sort, it could pull it out of your hand.
Right. That's one of those that comes with practice. You can switch between the two easy. The reason you want to switch is Simon Hammer, right? It's a more structural sound. What? Okay, I'll help you in a minute. Go. a lot more structurally sound, but I don't have the reach, so I can't touch him. Right now, if I switch to handshake, just switching the grip, and I got him right in the throat.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
You need to go play with someone. Take the wagon somewhere else, please. Thank you. So, but beat parry, right? That's where hammer would come in, right? I could switch, come in. Right, I instantly switched from hammer to handshake. Really, really easy. You do have thumb, which is, it's like sounds. Doesn't really apply to lightsaber much. If you have the cross guard, like Kylo Ren, that's where you use thumb a lot more because you can keep track of where those cross guards are pointing, right? You can see there's my thumb, right? I laid my cross guards over top of my thumb.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna stay in alignment with that thumb. I do have a cross guard saber, but I didn't think to bring it out. Didn't think we'd get to that.
Never used one.
Well, I actually got you to bring out your sparring partner.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is actually very cool.
Yeah, that's Darth Pommel.
Darth Pommel. That's funny.
Nice.
If you are going to get into fencing or more than just flow, right? You will want a tire, a pail, something, because
An old chair.
old chair. Yeah, it works. Measure is. Can I hit him? Yeah, I can hit him. No, I can't. Right, and that's all. Even just changing, like I talked about earlier, just changing grips makes all the difference.
Yeah, you're learning about range.
Yeah.
Because the handshake allows more slack in the wrist, right? More extension than if I'm locking in. I can't flex my wrist because I'm locking them in there.
Right. A lot of times people are their own worst enemy because of the way they hold their weapon.
Yeah, swords are designed to be used by people, right? Same deal. Really, any weapon, right? It works off your body mechanics. And
I'm doing it right now. That does feel different.
if you're in a more relaxed state, right, you get more
Yeah.
flex out of your wrist, right? You even if you're doing so, like Masashi used that lighter grip, right, where these two fingers and the thumb are barely holding. Switch back to the wooden katana here. All right, barely holding. Again, though, he wasn't using. That's the big difference between his grip and a handshake. Is it's lighter here, right? But his were all driving the blade into that heel, right? The strong part of your hand. Starting to get dark on me. Versus like longsword, right? It where I'm backwards, right, part of the time. You have to that's where the grip changes. You can't hold it like a katana. This is very awkward, right? That's working against my body mechanics. That's why you have to roll it. Right? Long sword, because I roll the lead wrist there, pull back around. Yeah, headlights just blinded y'all.
You're good. Hey, so we've got 2 minutes to the top of the hour before our next session. So you have anything that you want to add to the end?
No, thank you all for coming out. Hope you enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll schedule another one some point. January weather is spotty in Kentucky, so hopefully I get the garage cleaned out.
Sounds like a plan.
There
But
is no try, there's only do. I'm just saying.
I yield the floor to the next instructor.
Well, thank you very much, Archer, for this class.
No problem. I hope you enjoyed it.